Good day. My name is John Smith, and I'm an environmental toxicologist. I own Savior Inspection Drones out of Innisfail, Alberta, Canada. My company does air quality inspections and testing using drones and scientific instruments. Here is my microscope with a digital phone mount. It's got one of my blood samples on, 3 Geiger counters, and an EMF detector. Just some of the equipment I use. What I am about to tell you will hopefully shock you. It is for the medical community and scientific research to save lives and for the governments of the world, not for home medical advice. I am not a medical professional. I'm an environmental toxicologist. In 2019, I discovered signs of what I thought was a new syndrome, one that affects the immune system, causes symptoms of dementia and genetic aberrations, as well as a meat allergy. I discovered it because my family was having symptoms. In early 2020, I noticed people with a virus named COVID-19 were dying with the virus and symptoms of the syndrome I thought I had discovered. 2 diseases, not one. I wrote a thesis and published it on Kindle. I called it ATHIS syndrome, acquired toxicity, hyperimmune, and sensory syndrome. Nobody took me seriously. They all thought it was one disease, even though in my thesis I mentioned all of the symptoms, including ones that nobody had yet discovered. The disease is characterized by symptoms of bloody vomiting, bloody diarrhea, loss of sense of taste and smell, profuse night sweats, genetic aberrations, cytokine storms, autoimmune attacks, compromised immune system, and in many cases, a fake meat allergy, plus a myriad of other symptoms, depending on what infection you get with the syndrome. The compromised immune system usually leads to massive secondary infections, organ failure, and death. In July of 2020, I was able to narrow down and find the exact pollutant in the forest fire smoke from the Oregon and California fires, one that is known to cause every one of the symptoms I had mentioned in my syndrome. I rewrote my thesis and called it The Dead of Winter. I said in my thesis that obviously the pollutant had been listed as classified and kept top secret for 75 years. I mailed off 30 copies to news stations, politicians, and public interest groups. They all disappeared except for 3, and nobody contacted me. Since I did my report in 2020, all the symptoms have been discovered, and both United States and Canadian health officials have said that the syndrome exists. They have renamed it incident-related dementia caused by pollution in forest fire smoke. Also, I found a report from the United States Senate from 1998 saying that they knew about this as early as 1945 and had covered up and changed all the radiation reports and medical reports on what it was doing. In July of 2023, United States scientists from the University of Princeton, the University of Boulder, Colorado, and the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, led by top nuclear physicist and engineer and researcher Sebastian Philippe, put out a report saying the cover-up was right. The Pentagon had kept all the information secret. They finally got it released and were able to start working on mapping it out in 2020. And this is the map they put out in July of 2023. It shows all the radiation from fallout and how it spread across the United States. It shows levels as high as 1 billion becquerels per square meter on the California coast. Much of this radiation was sequestered in the forests, and now because of global warming and climate change and increased forest fires because of it, is now being redistributed across the United States and Canada. This means that any forest fires can give off deadly radiation in the smoke that, when combined with infections, can kill you. Infections that would normally just give you a cold. This is going to keep happening as long as nothing is done about it. And you will keep getting a higher dose with each forest fire season. If they had listened to me in 2020, they would have known that I had said that it was going to compromise the immune system and cause the genetic aberrations, and that they could have used the chelation diet I recommended and used plant-based antibiotics. Plants do not use antibodies. They do not have them. They use chemical warfare to fend off and kill parasites, viruses, bacteria, and funguses. This is wild wormwood or common mugwort. It's an extremely strong plant-based antibiotic, and it works. It just has to be used in microdoses. And it can be used to shield you before you even catch a disease. This is a new anti-dementia drug. It's incredible. It needs to be done. It needs to have clinical tests and research done on it. I'm sure it can work for anything from ADHD to PTSD and Alzheimer's to Parkinson's. It can also wean you off cannabis, help you sleep, and it helps prevent herpes attacks too. It calms and cancels out any erratic or manic signals in your brain. I could list 20 other antibiotics that are in plants that could be used. And I'm sure we can make a mix that can be tailored to any disease. I can also recommend fertilizers that can be used on your forests and on your crops. The meat allergy was not a real meat allergy. It was fake. It was caused by the cows eating contaminated grass and forage. One thing you're not supposed to eat is crops or meat from a contaminated area with fallout. If nothing is done about this, you're all going to need to start carrying one of these in your backpack or your briefcase. It is a single-use cadaver bag or body bag. I'm not kidding. These are two of the copies of the thesis I sent to CTV and NBC on June 30th, before the United States doctors and scientists put out the reports. They're basically time capsules showing that I knew this. I also have copies, digital copies, going back to 2020. This is my certificate in environmental sciences, reclamation major, my diploma, land resource management, reclamation major, both from Olds College, my degree marks from Lakeland College, applied bachelor's degree in integrated environmental science. And this is my 1,500-page hard copy of my thesis. You need to all ask yourself a question. And you need to raise hell with your governments. The question is, do I want to live? Thank you.